everyone, this is Lana from Lana Under Pressure, and in this video I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to help you convert your conventional oven recipes for the instant air fryer ovens. So the first thing you need to do in order to convert your conventional oven recipes to work in the instant air fryer ovens is you're going to need to change the temperature and time. There are very few recipes, if any, that can go straight from an oven to the air fryers without having to change them, because they work very differently. So one thing you can do is you can do an internet search or go to different blogs. Well, you can start with mine, and you can look for recipes that are similar to yours in the air fryer and use those temperature and times. But if you've done that like I have, there's very few recipes out there right now because these are so new. So I have a little mathematical equation. Yes, I said math, don't get scared. But that'll help you to change your temperatures and times of your conventional recipes in order for them to work in the air fryer. So to convert your temperature from an oven recipe to an air fryer recipe, all you're gonna do is subtract 25 degrees off of the temperature, and that'll be your starting point. So if you have a recipe that's for, say, a cake to cook at 375 in a conventional oven, then in the air fryer, you're gonna put that to 350. And it works the same whether you're doing it in the Vortex Plus or the Omni or Omni Plus. Now, to convert the time is a little bit trickier, but I promise you it's super simple. And this is what you're gonna do. You have to decrease the time from your conventional oven recipe by 25%. Now, I know I said the word percent, don't get scared. I have a way to do it really easy in your head, no need for calculators. And this is how it goes. So let's say you have a recipe that's 60 minutes, that you need to cook for 60 minutes in a conventional oven. What you're going to do to cook it in the air fryer is first you're going to have that time, so half of 60 is 30. Then you're going to have it again, half of 30 is 15, and that 15 is what you're going to subtract from your original time. So if your recipe is for 60 minutes, now you're going to cook it for 45. Now, the second thing you need to think about when converting your recipes is what mode to cook on. And so I'm going to start with the Vortex Plus because that's the easiest. And the trick is, there is no trick. All of the modes are pretty much the same because the Vortex Plus has only a top heating element and it doesn't have a fan that's adjustable. Whether you do it on air fry or bake, they're pretty much the same. Now, I'll put a link in the description below, and that'll link you to my article that tells you in more detail what each mode does. But pretty much whether you choose air fry, bake, or roast, it's not gonna much matter. Now, figuring out what mode to use on the Omni and the Omni Plus is a little bit more complicated, only because the great thing about it is you have a lot more control over not only the fan speed on certain modes, but also the heating elements, because the Omni and Omni Plus both have top heating elements and bottom heating elements. And depending what mode you choose, you can have one where the bottom doesn't go or the top and the bottom both heat up. So that will help you a lot depending on the recipe that you're trying to use. So for instance, when I'm baking a cake, a conventional oven cake, if I'm going to do it in the Omni, I will use the bake setting because both the top and bottom heating elements work and I can adjust the fan. Now, the third thing you want to consider when converting your recipes is the placement of your food. So we're going to start with the Vortex Plus because the Vortex Plus and the Omni is a little bit different. So for converting your recipes for the Vortex Plus, what you're going to do is you got to think about what food it is that you're converting. So if you're doing something like chicken or something that you're air frying, you're going to want to place it in the middle position with the drip rack below. And the middle position is the best to get the best browning on both sides because it allows for the most air circulation. Now, if you're converting a recipe that's, let's say, a cake or something that's being baked, for that, you want to have it as far away from the top heating element as possible. So if you have something you don't want to brown really quickly but needs to cook through first, in that case, you're going to want to put the tray in the bottom position. Now, a little trick is if you want to get it even farther away from the heating element, what I like to do is I'll take out the drip tray, I'll turn the slotted tray upside down because you do want to have some airflow. And then I'll put the dish, the cake pan or the casserole pan on top of that. And that gives you the most distance away from the top heating element. Now, if it's something that you want to brown very quickly and not really cook through like broiling, then you're going to want to put it on the very top position. Now for the Omni, you have a little bit more choices as where to position things because you have a lot more control over not only the fan, because that can go high or low, but also the heating elements, whether you want to use just the top or the top and bottom. So whenever you're air frying, and you can see here what I like about it is there's a little guide, so you can always use that as a guide, but not necessarily. So whenever I'm doing something directly on the rack, whether it's chicken wings or things like that, where I'm placing it directly on the rack and I want it to do more of like a frying type thing where I want it to brown all around, I will put the air fry rack on the middle position, and then in that case, because I'm going to use the air fry mode and that only uses the top heating element, if you're not using the bottom heating element, you can put this non-stick tray underneath to help you with cleaning. Now if you're going to use the bake mode and you're going to bake something like a cake or something in a casserole dish, in that case you're going to want to use the bake mode. I find that works the best because it uses the top and the bottom heating element. And in that case you're going to take out and not use this pan, but you're going to just use the rack. And I like putting it in the middle position, and I like to make sure that I have the fan on the low setting. And this way it kind of works more like a conventional oven, but a little bit quicker. And so I use this when I'm making cakes or cookies or anything like that. Now if you have a casserole or something that browns really quickly and you don't want it to brown on top, a good tip then is you can cover that dish with foil and put it in this position, and that will help keep the airflow away from it so it doesn't brown as quickly. My fourth tip is to not be afraid to change your mode or temperature during cooking. So if you have something that needs to cook through and you want to cook it on a lower temperature, but then you want to brown it at the end, you can go ahead and change the mode and the temperature without having to stop it. Just make sure that you press start so that it restarts, and don't be afraid to like mix and match and change modes while you're doing that. And another good tip with that is, keep a little notebook. That's what I do. I have a notebook where I write down every recipe that I try, and I write down the time, the temperature, the position, and the mode that I do it on. And that way, if it doesn't work or if it does, I can always look back and see that for the next time. So I hope my tricks and tips will help you to convert your conventional oven recipes to the instant air fryer ovens. And if you would go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my blog, www.lanaunderpressure.com, for other great recipes for the air fryer and also for the Instant Pot. Thanks! Bye!